Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with the Void Crusade, and this is gonna look a little different because I reset. I sat down and I was like, I want to do one of these correctly, and I reset, got to this mission, screwed it up, had to reset again just to do it correctly, because this third mission, for some reason, I think it depends on if you get the survivor first or not, but I cleared the whole area, didn't find the data slate, so I couldn't decode it in this fourth mission, so I had to restart, go back through, do it again, and now it seems to work. Come on, let me, there. So I could do the secret mission, but because it's already unlocked, the difficulty is locked in, so I'm not concerned about it. I'm gonna knock this out, and then I'll do this one again, because at this point, this will unlock this mission, and then finishing this will unlock these two, and I can kind of work around it, because if this works out right, the hardest mission I think ends up being like a +4, and that'd be honestly really great. But let's just get into this one. Slabotage, so we'll just go Psalm Code, Empyrean Seals, Void Shards. Yeah, that works.
Intelligence assets report the presence of important hostile machinery in the area. Exact locations are unknown. Auger scanners indicate moderate hostile presence.
So, considering the time frame now, the Sororitas class finally released on Steam. No release date for consoles, because why would we get a release date? And they did exactly what I thought they would do. It is a $15 DLC for only one class. I didn't want them to do it, but they pulled a Diablo 3 Necromancer and just are trying to sell just the class. Which, already I'm disappointed in that. They took a year to figure out one class. That's just embarrassing. I get it, they probably have... Their DLC team is probably also the people who did the next-gen port. So, well, now from last-gen to current-gen, if we're gonna be correct about it. But that's probably what they did. They probably just have those guys pulling double duty, which isn't good because then you get... a $15 DLC for a single class. And if that wasn't bad enough, the weapons... the weapons are the dumbest thing ever. So you get some standard Sororitas weapons, nothing really worth noting. But then, I get exactly what they did. And it's stupid. What they did was they made some weapons that are, I'll just pull up my inventory. So, they're two-handed weapons. Kind of like how this weird vein staff is a two-handed weapon. Except it is dual weapons. It will be like a bolt pistol and a chainsword. Disregard the fact we already have bolt pistols and chainswords as weapons in this game. They made separate ones that function as one contiguous weapon. And part of the problem there is they don't have everything one-to-one. They don't have, the bolt pistol and chainsword, I think that's the only instance, if I remember correctly, of a bolt pistol. Otherwise they have melt-a-pistols and a power sword or some club thing I can't remember the name of. And they have I think a plasma pistol and something. But they have these different combos, and they don't have enough permutations. Understandable, because you would have a ton of variations and it would get tiring. But what they did, from my guess here, is because you have acts of faith, they decided, oh, well, we need to make it so you can still use your acts of faith alongside these weapons. So I haven't looked at them, but I assume it is one attack with the bolt pistol, one attack with the chainsword, and then 2 casting slots. That's my guess here. Instead of just making the current bolt weapon with bolt pistols and all that, just disabling a slot and saying, hey, these attacks aren't available in this class, they just made redundant weapons. So now even if you had a great bolt pistol or a great chainsword from your Crusader, you're like, oh, I'll save this and give it to my Sororitas. No, you can't. Their versions are different. It's so irritating. Because, like I keep saying, they had a year. They had this for an entire year to make this, and this was the best they could do. And that's what's disappointing, because I know they can do better. The Prophecy DLC showed they can do a good job. The fact they didn't give even a minor faction or anything like that to the game is disappointing. Chaos. You could easily make a different Chaos faction. Most of them outside of like Death Guard or like Thousand Suns would be easy to do. You could pretty easily kind of cobble together one for, let's just say, Emperor's Children. You take normal Black Legion, make them purple, and change the... trying to think what it is, the Havocs. Change their weapon out, change the projectile in effect. Done. It doesn't have to be super fancy. If you want to do super fancy, go for it, but they could have done something, and they didn't. And that's what just kind of irks me. Because I was looking forward to it, and at this point, it's not enough for me. Oh, hey, we added a class. Right now on Steam, as of recording this, it's, I think, like 10% off the DLC, so it's like $13. I know on PS5, the PS5 version of this game is currently, I think, like 50% off. And I'm thinking, yeah, because what you're offering right now isn't that worth it. If you have the PS4 version of this game, you might as well just play the PS4 version. Because the PS5 upgrade does not offer enough, and the new DLC is not worth it. To my knowledge, it doesn't even add story. It's literally just a class. Which to me sounds like the game is likely on its way out. Unfortunate as it may be, I can't imagine with a release like that, it's just like how it was with Diablo 3. Last thing they put out after Reaper of Souls, they just went, oh yeah, here's the Necromancer moving on, and just kind of tossed it out there and kept going. I just don't know what Neocore is expecting, because I think it's safe to assume probably one of their best-selling games as of late was this game. I can't imagine a lot of people were interested in that King Arthur game. Arthurian Legend is cool, but a turn-based strategy game which kind of just flips the whole mythos on its head starts to get real niche. It just... I can't express enough how... It's a minor thing, I know, but it's annoying. they took a year. And I've seen people complain the animations don't look that good. A lot of people I've seen on the forums not happy about the weapon setup, which I completely understand. I'm not happy about those weapons at all. Some of the stuff like I think it's the multi-melta that the Crusader gets, you don't get that as Sororitas. And I saw a bunch of people going, why don't we get that? That is... Flame weapons are big within the Sororitas. And the game's just like, nah, you don't get anything like that. Even though there are entire classes of sister who specialize in heavy weaponry. Just disappointing. Ample opportunity and it was squandered. There's always hope that maybe the devs will say, hey, we're actually working on a new game that's, you know, bigger, better, but even that, with a weak finish to a game, it doesn't instill a lot of, I guess, it doesn't build good faith in the studio. It doesn't instill a lot of hope. Literally just beam goes noop, and it just melts.
Is successful. End of log.
Not much for loot here. That Rosarius force field's not going to be that good. Yeah, 4 slot. That's to be expected, though. Yeah, because now this is only at a 77. This will bump everything from here on in into +1, but that's fine. Can't run that because they get a big heat resist. Okay, additional champions. Sucks a little bit, but it's doable.
Have picked up unknown energy signatures that indicate the presence of a unique Fabricator's artifact in the vicinity. Exact location is unknown. Tech priests predict moderate hostile presence.
But with the Sororitas DLC being kind of a letdown, and I can't imagine we're going to get much past that now, I do hope other studios start to look at 40K a bit more. Because, like, playing Darktide has its flaws, for sure. But when I was playing more, I was playing with my friend who I had started playing with when the game was, like, in the beta, the pre-order beta. And I had said to him, you know, the way the game's set up, the blessings, the perks, all that, the game essentially is begging for a Destiny-style setup to it. The only thing would be... I mean, there's a couple ways you could run it. You know, depending on if you want to really lean into the you're a guardsman, you'll die a lot kind of vein, but that dying isn't fun. and it's rough, so you could do, to a degree, what Darktide does with the toughness meter. But I'd say it'd be great to have a bigger, longer-standing game. And hopefully we'll start getting that. Hopefully Space Marine 2 is good, and that really drives attention. Don't really expect to ever see a Dawn of War 4.
Taken out. You must find another way, Inquisitor.
That's just kinda the reality of it. I can't see Relic really coming back to it. I think Relic's owned by Sega, so they might, because they worked with Creative Assembly on Total War Warhammer. Title completely slipped my mind. But they worked with them on that, so maybe they're smart enough to go, oh hey, well, the fantasy stuff did really well, and if Space Marine does well, they'll go, well, also the 40K stuff does well, you just have to do it right. Maybe let's give Dawn of War another shot. And find whoever was like, let's make it like a MOBA, and just stop them instantly. Because I don't know what they were smoking, but it wasn't good. That also kind of shows the disconnect, I think, between a lot of developers and the fan base. And I do get it, I've said it before. Sometimes fan bases can get real toxic. You know, you always get the people who send death threats. Granted, for some reason that seems to have only gotten worse. And I feel like back when things were more niche, that would have been where you'd have the more diehard people doing that, as opposed to now. And you could argue some of it is potentially fabricated, because very rarely do the people who claim to get these threats actually provide evidence of said threats. They don't provide emails or anything, it's just, oh, this happened to me, and I can say anything. I could say I got jumped by strippers today. Doesn't mean it happened. No. You just have to trust me, and in that case, I didn't get jumped by strippers. It's not real. It's a fabrication. But I don't like going that route because I like to have faith in people and hope that some people aren't scummy enough to lie about things like that, since it just invalidates actual struggles that people have and actual threats people receive. But these days people are weird. Clout is a hell of a drug. I mean, come on, there was... Look at trends on, like, TikTok. I still laugh at devious licks, aka just theft. Or when people were licking ice cream in the tubs in grocery stores. Why people were doing it, I don't know. That's unsanitary. And disgusting. And honestly, if I caught someone doing that, I'd probably punch them in the throat, because somebody's parents didn't raise them right. That is some fatherless behavior, if you ask me, but it's just absurd. But yeah, looping back, I just hope we get some good 40K games. But it's always the matter of, no matter how popular we think these games are, they're still niche. A really good selling 40K game might pull 1 million sales, if you're lucky. While you look at Elden Ring, they sold how many? 13, 14, 15 million sales within the first couple months? Call of Duty within the first, 10 days, I want to say it was they made around $1 billion. So you're looking at if you're not including any microtransactions, just raw game sales, you're looking 15 million copies or so. Of course, I don't know if that billion was including payouts to digital storefronts and stuff for licensing, or if it was just... if that's profits, gross sales, or I think net profits? I don't know. I've never understood how the difference between all of them is. I just remember one of them is money without anything paid out, one's money with payouts, and then one is just all things paid for, and so on and so forth. And we're not going to touch that, because I get the feeling that's just going to send me back. But yeah, I feel like a 40k MMO, or even Destiny-style MMO Lite, as I call them, I think that's the way to go. That is the play. Especially if you can do, to a degree, a horde shooter like Darktide. More bosses, 6 to 8 player events. You could easily do a ton of stuff for players. I mean, Darktide's weapon variety is perfect. Could be a little more with, like, bolt guns, but if you have, like, a Space Marine class or something like that, you could easily do it. And that was something I had said to my friend, too, was it'd be cool if you could do Space Marines, but I also understand balancing is a bit of a challenge, because off the top of my head, because their armor is way thicker. So let's just take Darktide classes. Where does a Space Marine fall in terms of power rankings among a veteran, guardsman, a preacher, a psyker, and an ogre? Off the top of my head, probably weaker in melee than an ogre, simply because ogrins have... Game, I'd like to move, or I'll just die. Cool. That was neat. That's incredibly annoying. Suppression is stupid as hell. Oh, I tipped over and now I'm stupid. But it's just kind of hard to figure out where they fall in all this. Because it does boil down to effectively power rankings. Sucks losing that life, but I don't really need to worry about it. As long as I don't die 2 more times through this whole run, I should be fine. But yeah, because a Space Marine would be... They could be the tankiness of an Ogrin. Especially if you do, like, oh, we have scouts who are to be lighter armored, your standard Space Marine, and then you have Terminators. A Terminator is going to be the heaviest. Their disadvantages are going to be slow as hell. But they have so many options. Whirlwind rockets on their shoulders, assault cannons, storm bolters. Just using a regular bolter in Darktide, you hit a dude and he just disintegrates. You could do like an Inquisitor class, which would be fun. You know, your standard kind of Inquisitor Greyfax or whomstever you want kind of deal, where it's not as specific as this game. Though you could have, like, a tech adept, you could have a variety of classes, actually. It would be fun.
The objectives have been met. The Xenox artifact is now in Inquisitor.
Because then you essentially have free reign to make any kind of bosses you want. You can make missions as long or as short as you want. Whether or not you do free roam areas in the vein of Destiny, I think maybe patrols would be an option, kind of the patrol zones. But I feel like to some degree the free roam style is the way to go. Wow, it's nothing. Oh well. Oh yeah, so this does... We can open that up and then... Okay, yeah, this all makes sense. Oh, actually I have 5 lives, so I don't even really have to care about losing that one. I feel a lot better though. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.